Whose rule?
The rule is, you know, whenever you have a cooking school, you have to have the recipe card because you're here to learn something, right?
Okay.
But I just give you the recipe card so you can remember the name of the dish. I want to teach you to cook. I don't want to teach you how to read a recipe. All right? So I'm going to take the 5 eggs and I'm going to just put them in here. Like that. And then the recipe calls for a cup of sugar, but we sort of made a variation on the recipe. Now I had the special fortune, right, Gerald, of judging a bread pudding cook-off last Friday. So the fact that I can even interface with bread pudding is a miracle, okay? Because I don't know how they thought we were going to judge. They gave us nothing to drink in between the bites, and I was just in glycemic overdrive. But anyway,
we had a whole week to get over it.
Yeah, thank you. So instead of adding the sugar, we've added the sweetened condensed milk. Okay, and I'm going to add evaporated milk to that. Okay, Jr. Could you find me a rubber spatula in the back and bring to me, please? All right. Now, it calls for a little touch of cinnamon and some vanilla. Me and the barefoot contestant use more vanilla than it calls for. And I like to use a heavy Mexican pure vanilla. So I get a good strong vanilla thing. Then you take day-old bread like this. And I'm just going to whisk this up a little.
Is that French bread or something else?
I'm sorry?
Is that French bread?
This is it's supposed to be old French bread. Thank you. All right. And I don't need that one. Okay. Just I'm going to pull all of that out there. You know, I was raised by a Depression-era parents, so the thought of leaving something in the can was, you know, kept you up at night. So I'll make sure I get all of it. All right. I'm basically going to take that like that. Then I'm going to take the bread, some of it that I've done. Now, as many bread puddings, as many chefs. As my Cajun chef says about roux, there's as many roux as there are mothers. So there's as many bread puddings as it. And let me just tell you, all those young buck chefs at the cook-off did every part of fusion that you couldn't even imagine. Some of the, that was in, one of them had cherries in it. You know, my only word for it was medicinal. But, I was trying to be kind, but all I could think was, why in the world would you put Luden cough drops on the top of this bread pudding? Remember that one? He didn't forget it, you see. But most of them looked all alike. Most of them looked like plum pudding, you know, very congealed, very firm. One of them I was particularly excited about. It had meringue on the top. Now, my mother's recipe always had meringue on the top and raisins. This recipe options pineapple, which I did put in the one that you're going to taste. So I've got that. Now this is it, guys. This is the hard part. You let that sit for about an hour, okay? And that kind of absorb. Some people say overnight. Some people say, you know, put it right in. So I'm going to take a nice roasting pan like this. Now, unlike most chefs, I'm a baker as well.
We're pretending pineapple's in there.
Yes.
No, what do you let sit for an hour?
This, just the bread, so it absorbs.
Just the bread
in the milk mixture.
And the eggs too?
Yeah, everything's in here now.
But not the pecans and some... Yeah.
Not the pecans. I'm going to sprinkle pecans on the top when I roast it. Okay? And then I'm going to put pecans in the bourbon sauce. Okay? So, like I said, like most chefs, I'm a baker as well. I like to use this Baker Joy. You know, don't know about that. It's got the flour and the whatever it takes to make it not stick all in one. Okay? It's very good, especially if you've got any kind of a pan with any kind of an edge or design or pattern. All right? Now, I know some people who make their bread pudding and they put the pan in a water bath. And they bake it in a water bath like you would any, cheesecake. You know? So, it's personally, I don't know, Patrick, it's hard to screw it up. It
really is.
and you got as many chefs, as many flavors, as many. Basically, this is what you got: bread, milk, eggs, and sugar. And then go from there. Patrick likes white chocolate and regular chocolate in his. Some people, the one that I like the most with the meringue had Bavarian cream in it. And it was wonderful. Although, and in retrospect, I'm hoping it was Bavarian cream and it wasn't just not baked.
Yeah, right.
So, I'm going to go with the Bavarian cream.
Now, will there be a difference in the density as to whether or not you let it sit for that hour? Will it change the consistency?
I think somewhat. You won't have as much moisture. So if all your moisture is in the bread, the eggs won't lift as much. So you won't get as much lift in it because it's all in the bread. The bread will swell up a little with the eggs.
The reason you let it set, and there's two reasons why you use day-old bread. One, because it's a great way to get rid of day-old bread. Two, it's because the day-old bread will absorb the custard, where a fresh loaf of bread has a lot more moisture in it than a day or two old bread. So that day old bread will suck up that custard, so you get the flavor all the way into the bread itself. If you don't let it soak enough, you'll have these bites where it'll just be bread. You won't have any custard in it. So the other thing I do sometimes is I'll make sometimes a savory bread pudding. I want something besides, say, rice or potatoes to go with my entree, and you completely eliminate the sweet from the bread pudding. You use the egg and the milk. In this case, you wouldn't use a sweet condensed milk. You would use just a regular whole milk or whatever you want. And I'll add savory ingredients like rosemary, fresh rosemary and cheddar, or maybe some tasso or ham. Have kind of an alternative side
Bread
dish.
dressing.
Yeah, bread dressing.
Right. So that's the. I wanted to interject a little bit about food, and because being the Sicilian and being here for that many generations, they talk about the Creole in New Orleans because there's always tomatoes, and that's kind of the indication that it's Creole, that there's tomatoes. But I want to tell you, in 1850, there were 700 Italian families living, 700 Italians living in New Orleans. And the Port of New Orleans and those Italians brought all the produce into the United States through the Port of New Orleans. Because at that time, the San Joaquin Valley had not bloomed. The South Texas was not there. We had no relationships with the Pan American fruit imports that we have today, nor was there anything in Florida. So everything came out of the Mediterranean basin via Sicily to here. We have large areas in our state where we grow strawberries up above New Orleans, and that part of it, they call that the Florida parishes because it's, Florida used to come clear to the Mississippi, but they redid it so that Mississippi and Alabama could touch the water, so they cut that up. But that land up there is very loomy and sandy. We have hundreds of natural artesian wells and springs, so it's perfect for strawberries. And the Sicilians control that whole strawberry industry there. Then down the river on the west side of the Mississippi coming out of Baton Rouge, we call that the river parishes, large sugar cane. That's where Donaldsonville and Napoleonville. In fact, my Sicilian grandmother was born in Napoleonville down there on the sugar plantation. Her family, her husband's family, were all recruited to be workers in the sugar industry. So those tomatoes from New Orleans, I'm going to have to tell you that I believe came from the Sicilians more than just the Creole. We talk about the influence of Africa and the islands and that, and the okra but I think the tomatoes and that came from the Mediterranean basin and those things. So we have a good merge. Now, my Cajun grandmother would cook that roux all day and render that roux out. I don't know if you've heard chefs talk about rendering the roux. Well, my Sicilian grandmother would take that tomato paste and she would cook that tomato paste all day and make her tomato gravy. So basically at the end of the day you had a brown sauce and you had a red sauce from those two base cooking all day. So, and I think in all the years of them living together side by side that those amalgamation of those influences that come together to create for us the gumbo that we have here in South Louisiana of cultures and things. So we have what you're experiencing, while it's got this, we take real liberty here, this large Cajun label over it, you've got this fusion of a whole lot of cultures that come together to make who we are and that thing. JR, is that bread pudding ready to come out of the oven?
Should be close.
My KitchenAid oven is magic. And set the timer, and then the other one's going to come out of there. So I'm going to make the sauce, the bourbon sauce, okay? And it's a flambe, so
Get ready.
get ready. Be ready.
Chef, is there a safe way for a home cooked flambe?
Yes, I will tell you all those tips.
Great. I'm afraid not to.
This is the secret. Remove the pan from the fire. Thank you. Yeah, right there. It's beautiful. Remove the pan from the fire. There it is, nice and crunchy. And remove the alcohol, the fluid from the bottle. Put it in something else. So because if you get backflow into that whole bottle's got nothing to do with respond. Okay? So then you kind of, scorched on your right side. Okay, so I'm gonna heat up my pan here on my beautiful KitchenAid. Now, just for the record, this burner has 2 full settings. It has a medium, high, and low, and then it has a simmer, medium, high, and low. I don't know if that's interesting to y'all.
Yes.
I'm fascinated by that.
So you could say that it's chef approved. Okay.
The Electrolux people, the Electrolux company I work for might not.
Exactly. That's right. He's the Electrolux guy, I'm the KitchenAid guy. So we're big appliance people, he and I. So I'm just gonna let this butter come up to melt. While it's doing that, hey Lou, this is Lou Rom. He's my publicist, and I told him I wanted to get a quote from at least one of you guys to put on our blog so that we can have some fun with that.
How about this one? This is the best bread pudding we've eaten today.
And what's your publication? All right.
The Okie Travel Blog.
The Okie Travel Blog, huh? What part of Okie? Are you really an Okie?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Where from?
Edmund?
Edmund. My wife's from the city.
Pity her.
Yeah. Well, Edmund isn't that far from the city.
That's true. Some people think we're suburb.
Okay. That's true.
She grew up there?
Yes, ma'am. Heritage Hills.
Oh, that's a good part.
Mm-hmm.
So your family would be part Creole and part Cajun?
No, my French grandfather, great-grandfather, came from France. He wasn't part of the Cajun dispersion.
Oh, so you're all
Right.
Creole.
Right.
Sort
So
of.
it's real
Creole
French.
is very controversial meaning.
Yeah, Creole has a lot of.
By the meanings we would get into.
Right. Oh yeah. Well. A lot of people think that usually, we were told all kinds of stuff. So we have a great oral tradition on all the Cajun stuff until we started rescuing it 40 years ago. Is that right? Is that right? 67, 68, Total Fill came about. And we began to do that. Okay, now I'm using dark brown sugar. You know why?
No.
That's what I had. Okay? This is a menu or a grocery extending recipe. My grandmother, my Sicilian grandmother, when I started looking at her recipes and things I'd learned about it, someone asked me the other day if I was ever trained to be a chef, and I said, of course I was. My mother had lived with a disability and had periodic long hospital stays. So she had been at the hospital for a while, and I decided I was about 12 and I was going to make a tomato gravy with meatballs for her homecoming. And I've got my, olive oil and my vegetables doing that, and I'm stirring over the pot. All of a sudden, my Sicilian grandmother came up from behind me and just popped me in the back of the head. She says, "What's the matter with you? You Mexican?" Because I had put bell pepper and celery in with the onions and the garlic. Well, let me just tell you, you don't put bell pepper and celery in with Sicilian tomato gravy. Use onions and garlic, full stop, with the tomato base. Okay, now I'm going to add, now it's disgusting warm, I'm going to add these pecans so they can roast up a little. All right, bring my fire down a little. Now, just for the record, I'm on the front simmer group, the primary simmering group. Okay. All right. Any questions about anything you've seen or not heard so far?
Yeah, where'd your wife go to high school?
Bishop McGinnis.
McGinnis.
Okay, that's good high school.
So far, we're approving.
That's it. Good.
If you've got to be from Oklahoma, she's doing it the right way.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. My dad was a physician in Capitol Hill.
Ah.
Is that right? Doesn't that smell smelly? Smell the brownies? I mean, the corn roasting? I'm going to go ahead and kill the fire because the sugar has melted with the butter. And then I'm going to do the flambe. So I'm off, my fire's off.
Got the cameras back.
That's it. Douse the lights. Okay. I'm gonna add this. I don't have, my barber doesn't have to trim my eyebrows next time. Good, yeah. Nice big flambe. First, all the bourbon liquor. So you, the driver can have some of it to start off. All right. There you go. And there's the
cheese, that halloumi cheese, the flambe, that all.
I'm just gonna
Very good.
put this over there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I struck it. Now, if I was real clever and I did this often, I'd have brought it down by the side of the fire, and I would have done all that. But I'm not that schooled in that, so I didn't want to harm anyone at this cooking school. I don't want to have an insurance claim in my first 30 days. April 1st. No fooling.
Well, that's more than 30 days.
It is more than 30 days? You're right. It's the middle of May.
How long did it take you to get the space ready?
Longer than I had anticipated. 6 months. We started the 1st of September, and we just sort of, we didn't have a master plan, so to speak, so we just sort of did this. First, the counter was going to be just straight up there, and then we talked about doing this. My partner works at the New Orleans Cooking Experience.
Oh, sure.
And so she said, no, we got to pull it around and bring the people in, so we moved that. Of course, I work with the decorators, so that, every time that kind of kept moving along for 6 months, because we really had to bring it to
The one,
scratch.
the house that by your own?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. In fact, she's there all weekend doing 3 or 4 classes. So, who wants some bread pudding?
Ah.
What's our choice?
Yeah, right. Does anybody like coffee?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I'll get some coffee from the back. Just evaporated with the sweetener added to it. And the evaporated is some sort of rehydrated kind of, yeah, yeah. The evaporated is that milk, and the other one is the, show of hands again about the coffee. At least 8. At least.
Almost everyone but one.
Everybody but one?
It's easier to say who doesn't want coffee.
Right, exactly.
You need some help over there, I'll serve.
If you'd like, you can certainly do that. That would be great.
What, you're not gonna put Cool Whip on top of that?
You want Cool Whip?
No, thank you.
That's a horrible thing to say.
I could get JO to whip up some cream.
No, this is great.
Yes, sir.
It's all right about that?
Oh, absolutely.
That's the first thing he's eaten all day.
Yeah, no, that's what I was telling you. That's what I said. It's, the alcohol burned off, so it's okay for your drivers to have it. You know what I learned about my Sicilian grandmother's recipes that I was telling you about was that I told you we were 5th generation grocers, so all the food that she cooked with her recipes was with food that was at date or produce that wasn't suitable for retail. I like to say that we were somewhere between the grocery shelf and the hall. Because, and of course they wasted nothing. So all of her dishes had something smothered, like, you know, her eggplant was usually deep in a sauce or campanata.
Work through me. One more.
Very good. Lou, did you get some?
Yeah,
All right.
Just need one more.
One more, all right. Cool. There we go. Why don't you go to those back there? Good coffee here.
This is the best one. Yes.
This is not chicory. In fact, I got a little chocolate blend.
How is it?
So good.
And it's half
So I didn't buy this best red pudding was the other day. Oh, they're going to go
For me, this month, this year,